Hello there, Gemini. Welcome to your May reading. I hope that this month is getting off to a really great start for you, and I always look forward to seeing what kind of information is coming through for every sign. So without any further delay, let's talk about how I structure this. I start off with some channeled information, and I'll get right into that in a minute. And then after that, I look at a Celtic cross and expand the forecast after that to include health, wealth, love, and destiny. Of course, if you know your sun, rising, and moon signs, feel free to use these monthly videos for all of those. It does apply to each. Now, if you don't know, just stick with your birth date, and that'll probably give you the most accurate forecast you can get. All right, let's talk now about the channeled information. If you're brand new, I want to just welcome you to the channel and let you know that the way that I get the channeled information is I meditate on each sign before I begin, and I focus on what seems like the overarching theme for the month for you. I do some automatic writing and come up with some either images or thoughts or feelings that are going to help you navigate the month. Let me talk about what came through for you while I was doing that. The message was really to focus on balancing out relationship dynamics. In particular, I want you to try to reclaim your power this month. And one thing I want to sort of highlight with that is that, of course, there are people in your life that may sometimes overstep and try to take power. But more often than not, we have a choice in how much power we want to give to them. So this month, I want you to try to put down boundaries when and if it's possible and take back that power. Once you've done that, focus your newfound energy instead on self-development. So rather than giving it to someone or focusing on why you think they're taking your power from you, empower yourself through doing something that will make you feel better. This could be taking a class. This could be simply surrounding yourself by people that are of a higher frequency. Then I want you to really focus on feeling that change from within. And in time, others will also notice that change. And that's when you're going to really get your power back. But it does start from an internal recognition that it's always been your power. It was never their power. And for whatever reason, sometimes we get in situations where we give it away so that we can learn a lesson. Or we put ourselves in a situation where we don't have it so that, again, we can learn how to find it again or how to get out of that situation because it wasn't something that was really meant to give us the growth that we needed. Okay, so there was a lot there to unpack. Don't worry, I'll cover it again, but the highlight was balancing relationships, reclaiming power, and self-development. Okay, now let's get to the cards, and as I said earlier, I like to pull a Celtic cross here and see what the cards have to say, and then I use my own intuition on top of that and really try to pull it all together for you. Anybody that's been coming back for several months here or several years, I just want to say thank you to you as well. Without your help, I wouldn't be here. All right, at this point, I like to be quiet and just focus on the cards, so give me a second. In addition to what I've placed in front of me, I also like to look at one additional card, which is a catalyst. This, very much like the channeled information, is a connective thread that's going to help us make sense of everything in front of us. Okay, so you received the Tower for your catalyst. Quite possibly one of the most misunderstood cards next to Death or the Hanged Man. But this particular card I like because it shows that if you're in something that you don't want or like, or if you're ready for movement, it's going to happen this month. What was important, since this is a circular deck, I kind of look at the rotation, if it's upside down or sideways. Sideways in this deck is showing me to expect sort of some right and left turns in the month. This isn't going to be like a full tower event. This could be something that really takes you by surprise, but you have choices. And that's the exciting part of this. How much do you want to shift? How much do you want to change? And that's really up to you. But I feel like, especially when we were talking about the power dynamics, there might be a chance to just decide, I don't want this anymore. Or you learn something and it comes to you in a way that it does empower you to say yes, no, or enough. And so be open. And this really comes to me visually. I'm seeing it on the periphery. So if you're too focused on what's in front of you, if you're not keeping an open ear and open eye to what's going on in the environment, you might miss something important. So take time to hang out with friends, to listen to what's going on, and to listen to your intuition, because you'll be picking up on subtle signs and messages that will be able to pull you into a positive direction. Now let's take a look at the cards and see what additional information they have. Right at the center, we have the Four of Swords, and as I was looking at this, and as well, we have the Justice card in reverse at the top. I wanted you to not be afraid to take on something new, because sometimes when I see the Four of Swords, it can be a card of comfort. Yes, it can be rest. Yes, it can be sometimes feeling a little bit of fatigue, but I'm reading it this month as needing to move out of your comfort zone. And on top of this, we have the Three of Cups, which is not being afraid to hang out with a new friend or to do something in a social sphere that you wouldn't normally do. And also just to remember that fun is part of the equation of success. People that have a way of letting go of built up frustration or just feeling like if you hit a wall and you're no longer creative or productive, when you do something that is just for sheer enjoyment, suddenly all of the creative outlets start to open up. Your productivity increases. And really what I want you to do is, in addition to getting enough rest, I want to make sure that you're also putting in some things that are just feeding your heart and your soul and not necessarily tied to any particular goal. Now, as I look at the other cards this month, your crowning position is the Justice card in reverse. And this is a chance for you to say no to something, to walk away from something. We have in the near future, the Green Man, which is the Fool card. Again, a signal of a new beginning for you. And this is a very, very restorative card. And I like this particular Fool because it's not so much about risk, it's about opportunity. And I think that's what's on the horizon for you. Some of you may even start the month off with something coming in, new money, new job, that is going to, again, push you into a point where you're thinking, should I stay with what's safe and what I believe in, or should I try something new that might have some risk attached to it, but also might make me much happier? When I'm looking at your soul this month, there's a lot of introspective thought. Some of you might even be a little bit closed off to new ideas. I want you to, just like I was saying, to keep an open ear and open eye to what's going on. Really make sure that in your one-on-one conversations with friends, family, and loved ones, that's especially true. You want to sort of suspend your assumptions and your convictions and decisions until you have a chance to look at all the data, hear everything, see all sides of a story. Also, for some of you, there's a chance to kind of have a mental reset and focus instead on what may not be working and look at instead what's possible. Five of Cups is always that card of comparing yourself to others and thinking that the grass is greener on the other side of the horizon. But there's some notes here that you really have to focus instead on what your story is. I said focus on self-development as part of your channeled information. I really think that's your key this month, is what can I do for myself to get stronger, to get better? Because when you start the month out with the Queen of Pentacles, that's really a card of taking care of your home, taking care of your resources, feeling good and comfortable about who you are. That is what other people will eventually pick up on. And that's where the respect will come, and this balance that we were looking for, it will come later, but it has to happen first within. Some of you also have a challenge this month, and it feels like it's been stemming from previous months, basically about having too many things on your mind. Whenever I see Seven of Cups, it's a great card for brainstorming, coming up with new ideas, but sometimes you can feel paralyzed, especially when you need to make a decision, or a difficult decision, that, gosh, should I do this? What will happen if I do this? Maybe this won't work out. And it can sort of be a point where there's diminishing returns when you're spending that much time and energy on thinking about something. So I would encourage you this month to let go of that. Realize, of course, that it's good to give things a lot of thought, but there is a point at which you've already worked through all the scenarios, and it's okay to simply move forward. And I feel like at least by the second week of the month, you should be able to move forward with whatever decision or decisions you might be sort of trying to figure out. again, I feel like some of these could have a very profound effect on your life, but you have a choice in the matter. The tower wasn't upright, and it wasn't in the spread here. It's an energy that you can harness this month. So embrace the change and see what can come of that. As I'm looking at your opportunities, your hopes and fears, we have the Emperor card. The Emperor card is reversed, and so this is all about the power that we were talking about earlier. If there's anyone in your life, particularly a male figure or someone with very masculine energy, that is coming in and feeling either like a know-it-all or pushy, or is trying to shut you down, what you want to do is try to kind of pull back from that energy, and instead, because sometimes if you retaliate or if you push back too much, that just feeds the situation. So when I'm seeing temperance here, something I've seen in a few signs actually this month, it's saying that your power is going to come from your neutrality, by being able to cite facts, to stay in a place where it's not about arguing, it's simply about stating truths, sticking to policy, sticking to facts. This is a very legal-based card here. That's why you see the scales of justice on it. And what you want to do this month is make sure that everything you're doing, or as much as possible, we should say, because we're all human, it's kind of like by the book, by the letter of the law. If you do this, you're going to be in a place where authority figures that might be trying to push you around can't do so, because you haven't really done anything that they can snag you on. Instead, it's a matter of reflecting what they've said and saying, I understand why you're concerned about this and this, but this is the policy, this is what I've done, and I'm ready to move on to the next thing. If you sort of stand your ground in a neutral way, strong but neutral, then I feel like you're going to be able to overcome what feels like it could be a bully or someone that's a strong energy. This doesn't quite apply to you, then the other piece that I'm pulling from this is just to feel like you're getting more control of your life. When I see Empress or Emperor in reverse, it's really saying, now is the time to not delegate too much. You really want to take in everything that you can and own your decisions this month. Keep an eye on all the small details. And in doing so, you should be able to take back anything that might have gotten out of your control in previous months, or if someone's doing something that they shouldn't, this is your chance to bring it back into balance. Let's go ahead now and expand the forecast and take a look at what your health card has to say. This, of course, is an all-inclusive card with mind, body, and spirit. So I'll give it a good shuffle and see what's coming through for you. So your health card says positive expectations and clarity. And the title here is Eyes of Beauty. So one thing, of course, since we are talking about the eyes, I want you to spend special care and attention focusing on making sure that you're not experiencing any sort of fatigue with your eyes. If you are, definitely get those checked out, go to the optometrist. The other thing is, when we're looking at sort of on a general scale with respect to your spirit and your mind, this is really about focusing on taking your negative or critical thoughts and putting them to the side a little bit. They have a time and a place. If you're going to, like if you're in a mode where you want to edit, revise, or receive criticism, that's great. And of course, as long as it's constructive, it's something you can work with. This month, we're talking though more about your internal critical dialogue, where you might be worrying about not being, pretty enough or smart enough or this or that, whatever it is in your, your mental catalog that you feel that there might be a deficit in. You can acknowledge that, but I don't want you to sit too long in that critique. Instead, when we look at the Five of Cups card here, it's about thinking about ways that you can empower yourself to achieve your goals. Acknowledging what may be limitations, but then focusing on, okay, if I feel like I need more training, let's see what I can do. Is there a certification that I can sign up for? Is there some sort of a new job opportunity that can better give me the foundation that I need to get to that next level? Whatever it is for you, focus not on deficit, focus instead on opportunity and means to get to your end, not so much about the blocks. That's going to be another way that you can feel empowered and feel like you're being productive and moving towards something. That in effect is also going to help your health. And since we're talking about health, if there's something that feels like it's off and you want to do better, getting more fit, or changing the way you feed your body. This is the month for you to focus on health and diet and to make the changes, not focusing on what's not working, focusing instead on how to fix it. Okay, let's look now at your wealth card and see what's coming in for career, money, and opportunities this month. Give the cards a nice shuffle. This month with wealth, we have Goddess of the Moon. And when I see moon, just like the moon in tarot, this has to do with dealing with your fears. And so if there's something that you're afraid of, this happens, for instance, if let's say that there's mounting bills and you don't know how you're going to pay for them. Sometimes you're afraid to either reach out to a creditor or a company and renegotiate your interest rate or talk about a payment plan. This card is saying embrace your current situation and try to solve it. If you sweep things under the rug, that's when problems start to happen. And almost anything is possible if you give people notice and give them some sort of an inkling of what's going on. Hospitals, credit card companies, sometimes even your landlord, they can work with you if there's a month that's a little bit tight, but you have to give them a lot of notice, and then you have to make good on your promises. So Goddess of the Moon is saying, it's also like Artemis, it's a card of power. Take back your power in this situation and reach out to someone and let them know what your concerns around money are. This could also be for those of you that are feeling more abundance in your life. It could be about making sure that you're doing enough with your money. If there's an investment that doesn't feel good and you've been wanting to have a difficult conversation with whoever's maybe your broker, or maybe there's a family member and you have an investment together, there's something that you feel like you need to call out, a concern, or the other party's not doing their job. And this is also something where you have to have difficult conversations about money, particularly when it's about your own well-being. For negotiations as well, if you're getting a new job or if you're in a present job and you're not feeling like you're being taken care of, this is a month to find your voice and stand up for yourself, not in a confrontational way, but in an educated way that is going to really let the other person know that you value your time and your efforts and that they should be doing the same. And that's how any strong negotiator would work. You really need to have something to work with the negotiation. And if you don't, this is also about trying to build that. So if you're in a job where you feel like you don't have a way to go to your boss and say, I want a raise, look at the opportunities within the company and think, do I have a future here? Do I like what I'm doing? Is there something that I could do in the way of training or education that can then allow me to go back and talk to the boss about this? So whatever it is, it's just about empowerment this month and having conversations when it makes sense. Let's take a look now at your relationship card, at love. Love includes all sorts of relationships with others, with yourself, romantic, friendships, etc. So let's just see what love has to say this month. So overcoming obstacles, and this reminds me a lot of the Excalibur sword here, which is showing me that with love, for some of you, you have very high expectations, because when I think of particularly Excalibur, there was only one person that could remove that sword from the stone. And so some of you, I want you to make sure your expectations are in check. They may be too high so that it's feeling like you're waiting and waiting and waiting and nobody is kind of fitting the bill here. So if you're single and looking, this card could be sort of a reality check. Are you putting things so high up there that nobody's going to be able to meet those expectations? Or the flip side is, if you're picky, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, then patience is necessary. So, it's kind of a balancing act. If you want something more, but you don't want to wait, then you have to adjust your expectations. If you want to stand true to your expectations, then give it time and trust in the universe. It's really up to you. There's some free will associated with that. Of course, if we just look at the title of this card, it's about finding a way around a problem, not giving into a roadblock, believing that there is the right person that can kind of solve that. And that may not be you, it might be bringing in someone else, and understanding that this impasse may require a specialist to help you through it. So if you're in a relationship and you feel like you're stuck, it could be about going for counseling. It could also be about deciding, is this worth it? A lot of times I talk about the friction that you will feel when you're trying certain things in your life. And if you're not getting back what you need this month, then it's time to listen to those blocks and think, well, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's another way around this. All right, let's take a look now at your Destiny card. I always view the Destiny card as sort of a GPS. It's your chance to really feel connected and see what's coming through for this month. And if you like the direction, you stick with it. And if you don't, then it's a chance for you to reset. So we have this Thoth card here, which is about writing, and the writing card is reversed. So I really want you to pay attention to the power of words and thoughts this month. And so knowing that that dialogue that goes on, the words that you ascribe to your own life or that you use to describe other people, this is going to have, this is part of the way that you can bring back your power. And perhaps in those difficult situations where you feel like you have to have a conversation with someone, you could use a script. You could write things down. Maybe you have a phone call with someone. This will be a chance for you to collect your thoughts. So I want you to kind of play around with writing this month, either journaling, doing automatic writing, something that I do to connect with your higher self and your intuition, or simply to harness your ability to collect your thoughts better in written form and then use that as a script or a guide for day-to-day life. You could say, you know what, I need to refer to my notes, and then you could have that conversation with someone and you could have talking points. If you're on the phone, you could literally kind of write out a script and then just skip around a little bit. But I want you to do that if it feels right. There might be some of you out there as well that are interested in pursuing some form of writing, whether it's public speech writing, or you could be a writer yourself, or it could just be your chance to speak out. It's somehow about telling your story, and that's what's going to be the most important for you this month. Okay, let's go ahead now and review everything that we talked about. I want to start off with the channeled information, which this month was all about power dynamics. In particular, trying to focus on reclaiming your power. And once you've done that, to focus this newfound energy and attention on self-development, possibly going back to school, doing a certification, reading, or just doing some sort of an activity that makes you feel better about yourself. It's this internal feeling of improvement and empowerment that will ultimately allow others to feel and see your own power and your own capabilities. When we looked at your catalyst this month, we got a sideways tower card. The tower is an opportunity to overcome something, to reset, to rebuild. And this is coming across very much as sort of a curveball, something that you might have had an inkling that might be coming through, but it happens in a time or a space that you didn't really have time to prep everything. So don't worry about it. The most important thing is to kind of go with the flow and see, does it feel good? And is this an opportunity that I want to take? What can I learn from this sort of curveball that's coming my way? So some high-level notes here from the cards. The first is, if you're trying to make a decision this month, the universe is supporting you on this. We have the Fool here, which is about calculated risks, but also about the freedom that comes once you've made that step, that first step in the direction of your decision. So don't be afraid to move forward on something. Remember to have fun. It has merits, especially with productivity. It can also move you to a place of feeling like things are starting to happen. You'll meet people, you'll feel better, and for some of you, it might make you understand. You could, through listening to other people, realize that your life is not that bad. You're actually in a good place. With the power dynamics that we talked about, for some of you, you might actually need to seek help and some sort of a mediator or a lawyer. If you need to do that, that's okay. That's why the justice card in reverse is up there. You want to fight for yourself in that case. As we look at your environment card, Five of Cups, reminding you that it's not always greener on the other side. That what's really important for you is to figure out what you can do for yourself. What tangible goals and aspirations you can kind of set for yourself, and then again, focus on that. For the Emperor Reverse, making sure that you really focus on how you can manage your life and not delegate too much this month. It's important for you to have visibility on all decisions and make sure that you're not handing off any important ones. Finally, Temperance is reminding you to keep your cool this month. Whatever changes come your way, whether good or bad, whatever judgments you decide to make, or whatever decisions come your way, it's important for you to try to approach it with a level-headed point of view, and remember that this is a chance for growth, for self-enrichment, for getting your power back, and these changes are for the better. As we look at the extended forecast again one more time, focus on eye health this month. If there's any history of cataracts, any sort of issues with you having blurriness of vision, etc., go to the optometrist, take care of that. But the spiritual side of this card is really focusing on positivity, making sure that, again, if we kind of connect this one to the Five of Cups, that you are more goals oriented this month than looking at what hasn't worked. It's important to see possibilities, not so much just what's happened and maybe hasn't gone the way that you wanted. This is going to help you feel better, and also that clarity of vision, not literally speaking in this sense, but the vision of where you see yourself, that is also going to help propel you towards that ultimate destination. When we look at wealth, don't be afraid to have difficult conversations. If your money situation isn't going the way that you want it to, talk to somebody about it. Don't sweep things under the rug. Find a way to speak your truth. With relationships, either have the patience to wait for what you're looking for, or have a more realistic outlook on what's available. In an existing relationship, this might be about seeking assistance if you feel like you're at an impasse. Finally, as we see this reversed right card, what's really coming through here is to own, to respect, and to embrace the power of words, spoken, thought, and otherwise. And basically what you can do this month is write things down before you have important conversations. That's what great public speakers do. They don't necessarily have the whole speech. Sometimes they just have a cue card with certain notes. But when and if necessary, you could definitely write out the whole speech if you feel like that's something you need. But basically understanding that words have power and weight, and when you use certain words, that also is going to give you a sense of power and will help people see you in a different light. So choosing a word like resplendent, it has this great flow to it, versus a word, there's a lot of uglier words out there to describe people and situations. So if you look at any of the profane or vulgar words that are kind of out there floating around, they may sort of be fun in the moment, but they have a zing to them. They're usually short 4-letter words, very short, very quick, choppy. And then you could use different words to, like if there's an unpleasant, just using the word unpleasant is actually better than crappy, for instance. So I want you to really pick your words carefully, and this is going to help people see that you care enough about them and you that you try to communicate in a way that is neutral, respectful, and powerful. So pay attention to really good public speakers out there and see if you can take notes and use that as one way for you to pull back your power, which was part of that channeled message. So I hope that this gave you the guidance, the information, and the insight that you need to navigate this month. If you ever feel like you need a little bit more of a one-on-one appointment or some advice for a change that happens in your life, the first link under the video will show you how to get in touch with me. You can look at my rates and availability, and I'm here if you need me. Likewise, if you just want to give back because videos like this are helpful, you can absolutely do that. I do this for just for public service here, but it's also the way I make a living, and little donations as small as $1 help make these monthly videos possible. Also helps me buy new decks and just pay for general production costs. So if you go to my website, there's a lot of ways you can do it, from Patreon to PayPal and other ways. So you can take a look there. As little as $1, again, makes a big difference. Most importantly, I'd like you to stay in touch with me, so if you haven't already clicked subscribe, consider doing that. You can also join me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or my newsletter. That third link under the video will show you how to connect on social media. So finally, and most importantly, I really like to end every video with a sense of gratitude, and also to kind of ground us in like why I'm doing this every month. In previous months, I talked about how as we continue to work on ourselves, it creates this ripple effect, or this sort of chain of light. And as we start to get stronger in ourselves, in our families, in our communities, then we stand up and we're kind of like these lighthouses, these beacons of hope and inspiration for others. I want you to really own that, and somehow this month, reach out and touch someone's life and make a difference. It can just be in giving them a listening ear, giving them a hug, smiling, maybe sharing some of your gifts, your intuitive gifts, or just, again, something else in your life that you bring that is special. But it's an act of kindness without any sort of conditions. So an unconditional act of kindness, somehow do that this month and see if it doesn't help you and see what comes back to you from the universe. Don't do it because you expect something, but just as an experiment. Start giving freely and see if the universe doesn't do the same in kind. All right? Wishing you much love and light now and always. I'll see you again really soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.